Hey everybody, we're getting to the climax of John's Gospel. We're starting into chapter 18 today, which is where the kind of the action picks up again. Jesus has been talking for the last 4 chapters, but now we're going to get his arrest and his crucifixion and really the great end of the story where Jesus comes back to life. So I'm excited to finish up this Gospel with you, but as we start looking towards the end of this, I mean, at least in my Bible, there's really only, 2 pages left or so of the actual gospel. I'm looking forward to a new book of the Bible to study with you in our daily devotions. So if you have a book of the Bible that you'd like to go through with me, put a comment on this video and let us know what you'd be interested in studying next. I've got some ideas, but I'd be more interested in following what you think would be interesting to study. So send us a comment and also like this video and share it if you're finding this content useful. So Chapter 18, we're starting at verse 1. If you want to follow along, the text is in the description of the video or the podcast. And if you're on Facebook or Instagram, you'll just have to pull it up yourself. But that's where we're going to start reading. When he had finished praying, Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side, there was a garden, and he and his disciples went into it. Now Judas, who betrayed him, knew the place because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So Judas came to the garden, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and the Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out and asked them, "Who is it you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said, and Judas the traitor was standing there with them. When Jesus said, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, "Who is it you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they said. Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. If you are looking for me, then let these men go." This happened so that the words he had spoken would be fulfilled. "I have not lost one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus commanded Peter, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" This is the gospel of the Lord. So obviously after this prayer, we get to the Garden of Gethsemane, the Mount of Olives, which is an episode that's recorded in much more detail in the other Gospels. But John is not really concerned with telling you the story because he's assumed you've read all the Gospels up to this point and know the story. He wants to focus more on Jesus. You guessed it. Words. So when Judas comes and he's bringing a detachment of soldiers with torches, lanterns, and weapons, obviously Judas thinks this is going to be a street fight. Jesus says, "I'm Jesus of Nazareth," the guy you're looking for. And what the words actually say there in Greek are just 2 words, ego, eimi, which are pretty much every theologian agrees the words that stand in for the divine name I am, which is used in the Old Testament, which of course was written in Hebrew, but when it's written in Greek, ego, eimi, ego being I, and eimi being I am. So an emphatic I am, is what the Greek literally says, and that's what Jesus says here. Instead of saying I am he, it probably would be just more accurate to say I am, and Jesus is not just saying, like, I'm the guy you're looking for, he's also saying, I'm God. And that's why they fall back, right? At that very moment, just the words of Jesus' mouth draw them back and make them fall to the ground, which shows you, of course, that Jesus is not doing this, or is not being caught unawares, or he's going to be forced to do anything. He lays his life down of his own choice, which, of course, is what the scriptures tell us as well. So they come back to him, and he asks again, "Who are you looking for?" And he this time says, "I am he," and they don't fall back because he's allowing them to take him. So Jesus answered, "If you are looking for me, then let these men go." And this happened so that the words he had spoken would be fulfilled. "I have not lost one of those you gave me." Now, just in this here, Jesus speaking about you too, that those whom he has been given, namely you, he will not lose. He is going to lay down his life for you. He already has, and he continues to as he sacrifices for you through the preached word, through the sacraments, which again give you the forgiveness of sins every time you take them. So here Jesus standing in your place against all the enemies who would want to harm you, who would want to take you and make you suffer for the sins that you deserve, who would want to accuse you like Satan does, that you're not good enough for God, you're not good enough for anybody really. Jesus says, it's not this one you're looking for, it's me. Take me instead. And then you are free. You are free to go, free from your sin, free from your shame, free from your guilt, because Jesus stood in your place. Simon Peter, obviously, the impetuous one, doesn't like this all that much, so he takes a sword out, and he strikes the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear, and that guy's name was Malchus. Interesting that John includes the name for a couple reasons. First of all, that he would actually name names makes this document more and more easily disprovable. right? Because let's just understand that this is a document that would be written within 50 years of Jesus being on earth. So if Malchus himself isn't still alive, at least people who knew Malchus would still be alive. And they could say, yeah, that's not the guy. Or that guy didn't have his ear cut off. Or Malchus wasn't even there that night. Or whatever. If John was trying to make up a story, he wouldn't have included the names. You try to keep it as vague as possible when you're making up a story. You don't name names, because when you name names, you include more people whom you have to collaborate with in order to make the story actually make sense. So this is another testament, first of all, that this is actually true history that John wrote down. But another really cool thing about this is the fact that John actually knows this guy's name, which probably means that Malchus became a Christian. Right? I mean, some soldier, some servant of the high priest, and maybe he was really well known, and maybe everybody knew his name was Malchus, but the odds are probably not. He was just the servant of the high priest. There's a good chance that Malchus actually became a Christian after seeing what happened to Jesus, the one whom he came to arrest. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter for us, but here's what we do know. God knows your name, and your name is written in the book of life, because you know Jesus. You know who he is, and he knows you. He put his name on you when he baptized you into his family, into that name, so that your name will be remembered forever by the one who actually matters, not just the gospel writer. Jesus commands Peter, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" The cup, of course, was the picture of the suffering of the wrath of God. Psalm 75, I believe, or 74, I can't remember off the top of my head, talks about the cup of foaming wine that the wicked drink, and they drink it to the dregs, and it is the wrath of God. That's what Jesus is going to drink. And he is not wicked. He is innocent. He is righteous. And yet he is going to take on the punishment for all of the evil that we have ever done. He's going to drink it to the dregs. You can think of maybe the idea of drinking like the poison, drinking poison, right? Like this idea that you're going to die because you drink this cup, and you don't want to drink all of it because it's poison. Obviously, you don't want to die, but then if you're really willing to die, you would drink it and drink it and drink it because you're ready to go. Well, Jesus is going to drink the cup that God has prepared for him. He's not going to fight back. He's going to lay down his life so that your life could be spared, so that you could go free. If it is this man that the evil one wants, then he can have him. Because what Jesus' goal ultimately was to get you out of your sin. And he did, in the same way that he got his disciples out of this situation in the Garden of Gethsemane. And of course, we find out that right after this, those disciples ran away. It's not recorded in this gospel, but it is recorded in the other gospels. And we find out in the next section, which we're going to go through, about Peter's denial of Jesus, even after Jesus has done this. Remember that as a Christian, that Jesus does these amazing, gracious things for you. And that doesn't mean that you're going to always be perfect. It should mean that, but you're still a sinner. And the amazing grace of Jesus is that he forgives you once, and he forgives you again, and he forgives you again. And that amazing love is not something you ever want to throw away, brothers and sisters. So thank you for spending time digging into the scriptures again with me on this daily devotion. If you like what we're doing, make sure you share this content so other people can find it. Remember to leave me a comment if you're interested in a certain book of the Bible that you want to study in the future. And make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, you click on another link that's on the screen here so that you can see some other stuff that we've been doing.